Okay, Adam Adshead, welcome to the Live on Form podcast. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, I mean it's been a while, but it's I appreciate you kind of giving me some airtime, and look forward to having a good chat with you.
Yeah, that's cool. So Adam, you are owner and founder of Factory BJJ. You're a black belt in BJJ, and you're a scramble sponsored athlete. I guess it'd be great to understand a bit about your, competition history and what kind of led you to, what led you down the road of BJJ really, and up to this point.
So I've almost been training 17 years now. So I started training when I was 19. So a little bit later than probably most people do. Nowadays, we have kids who are starting at 2 years old.
Wow.
So it was something that came to me a little bit later in life. But I did the same thing most people did. Most teenage lads and stuff, played football for years for different teams, and then lifted weights and trying to get bigger and stuff, as most teenage lads like to do. And then a friend of mine started doing jiu-jitsu, and he told me all about it. And it was one of those things which on paper sounded really good, but having never done martial arts before, I put it off and I put it off and I put it off for probably almost a year.
Okay.
Eventually I kind of ran out of excuses, and I went down, tried it out, and that was in 2004. And
okay.
I've not looked back since. It's been something which has became a hobby, became something which I was really obsessed with as a hobbyist. And now, I've competed internationally all over the world, and I run my own gym, and it's a big part of my life now.
So I guess tell us a bit about that kind of competitive history, where you've been, what sort of competitions. That'd be really interesting to understand, because I know you're a busy guy, but I know you fit, or you have fit, a competitive history into that. So understanding a bit about how you did and where you've traveled to, and etc. That'd be cool for me to understand.
Yeah, I mean, I did what most people do, which was cut the teeth on the kind of local scene, and back then when I started training, like 2004, I think I competed for the first time. I think 2005, as a beginner, as a white belt. So I did a lot of the local competitions and stuff, and then kind of grew from there really. And in BJJ, like the majority of the biggest competitions are abroad, which is great for me because I love to travel. So the majority of the time I'm competing is in California. Most of our kind of competitions, so our world championships and our bigger competitions, even some of the smaller ones and stuff are stateside. So I've done plenty of competitions in the US. Our big European Championships is in Portugal every year, so we'd be out there probably now. Sadly,
wow.
It's been cancelled, so it's always around this time of year, towards the end of January. And then I was I've been really fortunate to kind of go. 2019, I competed in Japan for the first time, which was a real kind of privilege and an honor to kind of get out there, home of martial arts.
Yep.
And everywhere in between, really, different European countries and stuff. So we've taken our team out there. We did the Paris Open a couple of years ago, and we got third place in that as a team. And we did the Amsterdam Open as a team as well, which was great, taking loads of the guys out. And being able to kind of do that with and we got second place team trophy that year, which is great to do as a small independent gym from Stockport. So it's the competition scene is a big part of BJJ, but it's obviously have a lot of people who are just hobbyists who just do it for fun, and everyone in between really. So it's it keeps me busy.
So what's been your personal transition then from white belt through to black belt? Give us a little bit of an explanation of that journey, how long it takes. And I guess, it's clear that there's a skill differentiation, right? And you build that up over time, but how long does that generally take? And explain, I guess, the gaps between the skill levels of a beginner and a white belt to right up to where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them where, the good thing about BJJ over a lot of other martial arts is that it's a meritocracy. So it's solely based on ability. So, you know, for me as a black belt coach, you know, when I'm looking at kind of promoting people, it's based completely on someone's ability. So the good thing about that is that it's not just you turn up, you get your attendance card stamped, and, you know, as soon as you've paid X amount of money, you get your next belt. You know, it's,
I've seen that,
which is sadly what a lot of martial arts has become now. But BJJ is based solely on ability. So, you know, the time's coming down now, as with everything, you know, with training, with all kinds of things. It's when I started training, it was the average to black belt was 10 years. Now it's probably a little bit shorter. Some guys are now kind of doing it in 7 and 8 years and stuff. But it's all about building a well-rounded game. So BJJ is, for those who are kind of listening or watching this who don't know what's going on, is a kind of a cross between wrestling and judo. So we take a lot of elements of the takedown side from wrestling, from judo, and there's a lot of kind of pinning elements, and then the submission side of things, which is all about you know, arm locks and leg locks and chokes and stuff. And as a white belt, it's mostly about survival. You know, I tell a lot of beginners it's about how you're able to kind of defend, how you're able to kind of survive, keeping calm under pressure, being able to kind of get out of bad positions and get back to good positions. And that's pretty much it, really. And, you know, once you've kind of done that for a year, 2 years, then it's all about, once you get to the kind of the blue belt level, it's about picking either, generally, like, people go to be like more of a top player, so being the guy on top, or being a bottom player, which is we call like being in the guard position. And generally the blue belt is spent in kind of specializing in one of those areas. Now, generally, like, a lot of the bigger guys naturally kind of prefer to be the guy on top, and then the smaller guys like myself are more kind of bottom players. And then from there, then it's like, as you get higher up through the belts, purple belt, you kind of start to kind of round your game off a little bit more. So the bottom players become a little bit more top players, and vice versa. And then brown belt, you know, you're kind of taking things even further. So you have to be very well rounded at the brown belt level, and definitely kind of be kind of a specialist in definitely a few different submissions and stuff. And then the black belt then is kind of just the cherry on top, really. It's to go from brown to black belt at that point, and then it's almost a given. You know, it's kind of getting a couple of years under your belt and at the brown belt level. But yeah, there's no set order. There's no set kind of list of techniques or anything. People kind of generally find their way, and obviously with a little bit of coaching and a little bit of help, you know, people kind of get to grips with it. But it's a great art, you know, and like any art, it's never ending. So there's always kind of room for improvement. There's always room for developing weaknesses in your game, but then also starting to boost and get a real specialization in the strong parts of your game as well. So yeah, it's an ongoing art, you know. It's something which we you know, we've seen guys pick up even, you know, in the 50s and stuff. Like, guys, our oldest member currently is 60, and he started training about 3 years ago, and he's a small guy. He's not a big guy. He's probably like 55, you know, 57 kilos. So it's great for to be able to kind of be able to kind of provide that. And it's yeah, there's scope for everybody to get to black belt for sure. There's no, you know, you're never too late, Jason. Never too late.
Exactly. Well, yeah, you know, I've spoke about. It's interesting you talk about the size thing, because everyone that I listen to on BJJ, you know, I follow a lot of the guys I follow. You know, Rogan, Jocko Willink, even Lex Freeman, and guys like Sam Harris. You know, on kind of more social commentator type podcasts. They all do BJJ, and the one term they reinforce continuously is how humbling the sport is. And I think, you know, someone like me who's kind of lifting weights, you know, you start lifting weights to get bigger, right? Bigger, physically stronger, but you're getting bigger and stronger to lift weights up and down. That's really what you are. You know, it's still power output. But what's really interesting about BJJ to me is that, you know, I mean, you're a small guy, but size, how much does size play a part in success, I guess. And you mentioned the big guys like to go on top, right? So how much is how much of a benefit is size and muscularity, or is it a benefit at all?
I think it's how you use it, definitely, and I think there's very much a glass ceiling on being able to kind of use your size and your strength at first, and it's one of them where for bigger guys, obviously naturally they're going to be using their attributes. They're going to be using what they've got, and we have a lot of guys who are like yourself, who've lifted weights all their life, or we've had guys who come from rugby backgrounds or other martial arts and stuff. And if they are kind of heavily into kind of using their size and their strength, what they realize pretty quickly is that there's a limit on how far they can kind of go, because there's always somebody bigger, there's always somebody stronger.
Yeah. And
even if you are the strongest guy in the room, strength and stuff does get tired. So it's one of those things where we try and kind of move people away from that and focus a lot more on the technique. But it's the same for small guys. Big guys get a big rap, a bad rap, because they're kind of, it's easier for people to see them sparring and to feel them using their attributes. Whereas small guys can do the same as well with speed, with flexibility. A lot of the smaller guys are, generally have better cardio and stuff as well. So, even for me as a coach, I'm very mindful that, if you got some small 20-year-old kid who's super flexible and really fit and able to be really quick with the movements, even that can be kind of limiting in terms of their development. So as much as possible as a coach, we try and kind of focus on the technique side of things, because ultimately technique doesn't get tired, and you've got to refine that technique as you kind of move forward and as you go through the belts, because ultimately at the later stage, you can then start to kind of plug the attributes in. So, generally when you kind of get to that kind of purple belt level, brown belt level, if you've focused a lot on your technical game, then when you plug in your strength back in, or you plug in your flexibility or your speed or your superior cardio, that becomes a dangerous combination. Whereas if you just focus on what you've already got, which is your strengths, i.e. speed, flexibility, whatever, then very quickly people start to figure you out. And it's tough for me to roll. I'm 65 kilo guy. So for me to roll with a 120 kilo guy, even for me as a black belt, is tough. But it's they get tired and very quickly it's very easy to read what they're doing, and they're very limited on what they're doing in terms of trying to stop me. Whereas there's always techniques which I can kind of pull out the bag, which are going to be able to kind of override that. And that's what makes it super interesting for me after all these years.
Yeah. So what's kind of the mindset? Because, I guess in other sports, and especially even going to the gym, lifting weights, right? You've had, you see guys going in, fully amped on pre-workouts, and you see guys going into rugby games or any kind of, physically competitive sport. There's a real element of being amped up, wired up, psychologically and physiologically, sort of psyched up and ready for a really kind of combative, aggressive burst of energy. But I guess BJJ is different, right? Because does it benefit you to be calmer and more kind of in the flow, and less so to be aggressively psyched up? Because I guess that's when you're making mistakes and probably burning nervous energy.
100%. I mean, it's quite interesting because at the competition, if you go to any competition, you're going to see the full spectrum of people. Some people, as you know, with any sport, they're going to perform more when they are amped up. So BJJ, even though it's more of a cerebral kind of physical chess match, there are guys, you go to any competition, even some gyms for normal training, you're seeing guys taking pre-workout. You do still see guys getting amped up and stuff. Right. And sometimes in the minority, that works for some people. But the majority of us, we I mean, I've been sleeping, you know, like I've been sleeping before competitions, and I find that being relaxed and trying to kind of get into that flow state is always much more beneficial. So yeah, it's important for me as a coach and as a gym owner and stuff that, you know, we have like, you know, I've created an atmosphere and, you know, an inclusive kind of environment where it is relaxed and it is kind of chilled out and stuff, like, you know, from the music that we play, to the decor, to the everything, because I think it kind of makes sure that people kind of feel comfortable in the situation, because ultimately, yeah, if you can kind of get in that flow state and you can kind of be relaxed, you know, the micro kind of like transitions and the micro adjustments that you need to make with your body when you're training to make to get the takedown or to get the submission, it's always going to be way more kind of beneficial to have focus when you're doing that, rather than just be absolutely off your face on caffeine. You know.
Yes, you're ultimately better being relaxed, and that kind of makes you more, you know, physically able to get into the positions and the moves because you're relaxed. You're not tense up. You're not tight. But I mean, sleeping before a comp is pretty extreme, right? So has that taken you practice? Is there any specific techniques? I mean, that must have, you know, I can't imagine you slept before your first comp.
No.
Taking your time.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think it's one of them where, as you get older and stuff as well, and more experienced, you know, I've massively kind of been able to kind of take a lot of the emotion out of competing. You know, I even when I'm kind of doing these, well, I mean, there's two kind of types of competition. One is kind of like a bracketed division. So you know, there might be, say, 10 or 12 of you in the division, and you fight this guy, the winner go forward. You know, you end up kind of fighting, you know,
Okay.
2, 3, 4 times, or you kind of have like we call like a super fight format where you just fighting one person and you kind of know who that person is. And, you know, regardless, for me, like, I just take out the complete emotion. I've taken all the emotion out of it, and that's taken a long time, where it's just technique versus technique. It's just move versus move. It's never personal. I never kind of like worry about how I feel about the other person, or like whether or not they've got a better record than me, or they come from a different gym, you know, which is more kind of well known, or whatever. I just I'm really chilled out with it now, and I found that, like, being able to kind of extract that emotional side from it, it's taking time, but it means that I'm basically as relaxed as I am just right now talking to you, and it's definitely helped with my performance over the years, rather than doing the whole kind of hyping myself up and being angry and, you know, feeling like I need to kind of go to war with this guy. Like, the intricate kind of nature of our sport is that the more you're able to kind of, you know, be in tune with your body and make those small adjustments, the better.
Yeah. So what? I guess do you teach that to your students as well? Is that something? Is mindset and a balanced mindset and an ability to stay relaxed? You know, I guess control your breathing. I guess that's something you kind of teach throughout your students, as well as the actual, you know, technical aspect of BJJ.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, I talk a lot about mindset, and you know, my guys know kind of, you know, my approach to it. They know I'm chilled out, and like I mentioned before, like, you know, we pretty much only play like instrumental, like hip hop, and we kind of keep things pretty chilled. You know, we're not in there playing death metal, and we're not, you know, I don't like kind of that side of things. Like, it's one of them where, even without knowing, the guys are kind of learning that mindset, because when we're sparring, even though we're sparring hard,
yeah,
like, you know, the music reflects that, the atmosphere reflects that, like the humbling nature, like you mentioned before, of jiu-jitsu kind of keeps everybody in a position where, you know, it's hard to kind of in my opinion, if you've got all those kind of factors together, like, it's hard for me, like, to kind of get like amped up, and to get kind of anything other than focus and chilled, and be mindful of that. So, you know, my guys are kind of reflect my kind of mindset very well, and it's something I'm very proud of. That when we go to competitions and I corner guys and I see my guys competing, how chilled they are and like how relaxed they are. And obviously me kind of like trying to tell people that is half the battle, but it's been great to kind of like continue to build the gym and have an inclusive atmosphere that's helped promote that as well.
Yeah, so tell us a bit about your gym, Adam. When you started that, and I guess what was your purpose for starting it, and I guess what type of people, what type of backgrounds, come to learn BJJ, because it is quite different, and we'll move on to talking about the culture, how you see the culture later, but the gym. When did you start? Why did you start it? How's it going, I guess, and what's the future of it? I think as BJJ becomes more mainstream, dare I say?
Yeah, I mean, I started the gym 2008, basically by kind of default. Really, what happened was that the gym that I was training at, they decided to close, and my coach, first ever coach at the time, he decided that he was having too much kind of going on at work. I think he got promotion and started having a couple of kids and stuff. So he decided that he wanted to kind of start downsizing what he was doing. So the jiu-jitsu program kind of dropped out. They carried on doing kickboxing and stuff. So I just decided that I would start a club. I started with 6 guys, a handful of mats that my first coach actually kindly donated to us. And we just did the whole leisure center thing, where we were putting mats down and taking them up every session, and just kind of figuring things out for ourselves, really. And then that was 2008. And then fast forward, a couple of years doing that, we ended up kind of getting our own studio, like just renting a basic room, to a point now where, I don't know, we've got a couple hundred students now. I was, fortunate enough a couple of years ago to buy the unit that we're currently in. So we're there for life now. And then,
no turning back.
No turning back. I'm all in now.
All in there, yeah.
And being able to kind of attract a huge kind of spectrum of people. And I think that's one of the kind of huge positives that BJJ has, is that it attracts the right kind of people. And for me, like, we're kind of really fortunate because we've got so many people now. Like the culture's almost already been set. So
okay, that's good.
If you get people that come in who want to throw the weight about a bit, or I don't know, maybe be a bit more kind of brash, a bit more aggressive or whatever, they don't stick around very long, because they kind of see the nature and the culture and the way that people are in the gym, and they don't feel like they fit in, and they'll find somewhere else that they do. So yeah, our spectrum of people, like I said before, like our oldest member is 60. The majority of our guys are probably, say 25 to 45, but it's such a spectrum of people. We have a lot of professionals. Majority of our clientele are kind of professional, high level kind of professionals. But yeah, we have a lot of students as well, and it's one of them where, like, it's such a great equalizer. And like I said, it's so humble in jiu-jitsu that it doesn't matter like what you do, how much money you earn, what status you've got in your job, because someone's choking you out and they're trying to, like, take your arm for an arm bar or something. It's a great equalizer, and it's been it continues to kind of like surprise me how humbling jiu-jitsu is, even after all these years. And I think because of that, it keeps the right people coming back, and we've grown a really good community. And especially with everything going on last year with COVID and stuff, like, the community side of things has been stronger than ever. And it's mad, like some of those guys I've not seen for almost a year now, but we're still chatting. And first lockdown, guys are doing like Zoom quizzes and like doing little hangouts and stuff. And when things were restrictions lifted a little bit, guys were kind of meeting up and going for walks or going for a coffee. And it's is one thing. You know, people keep asking me how I'm doing, and like I said to you before, like I feel really good about the future of jiu-jitsu, because ultimately, you know, it's a skill, and it's an art that people are going to still want to learn. And despite the fact that everyone's telling us at the moment that you've got to keep away from each other and 2 meters apart and all this, like, believe me, like, you know, I've got over 200 people on the waiting list at the moment, because people are dying to get back to jiu-jitsu or to start it, because they feel like it's something that's going to be good to add into their life, and, you know, an art that they want to start to get into kind of moving forward. I'm still getting calls literally every day asking, oh, are the classes on at the moment, even though it's like full lockdown.
Even though it's obvious it's not. It's interesting you talk about the community. That's a really different element to a gym than what you get from especially a big kind of, you know, corporate gym that, you know, kind of floods its floors with paying clients. You know, the community aspect is really interesting, and also is interesting is you mentioned you got a lot of high performing professionals as well from well-paid jobs maybe, and it's been clear that there's kind of been a growth in, you know, high performers coming from, you know, a professional role into really difficult sports, like even kind of triathlon and road biking and cycling, anything that's really difficult, but also they all share that sense of community. You know, there's a community around triathlon, even ultra running, right? That's a similar kind of thing. Immensely difficult, but a real sense of community around the struggle and the learning, but also kind of the shared, you know, comradeship. So that's something I find really interesting around BJJ, and I hear it mentioned all the time. A real leveler, a real, you know, building a lifelong friendships and kind of similar mindsets. Really, how would you describe the culture of BJJ? What's if you could describe it? What's the culture? What makes it so community driven and so appealing to, you know, to people with a certain mindset?
I think the big thing is it's kind of that shared experience, and I was having this conversation with somebody the other day that, like, it's weird because I've got like lifelong friends who have competed against, who I've maybe shared the mat with in like one 10-minute match. You know, like I've had like a 10-minute match with them. Got a friend of mine, Alex Eklund, who is a guy from New York. I competed against him once, and he beat me sadly, but we had an absolute war of a match. But then ever since then, like, you know, we keep in touch, you know, we're chatting on Instagram. I was actually in New York a couple of years ago, and he asked me to like teach at his club. You know, I taught at his club. Yeah. You know, likewise, if he was ever in Manchester, and, you know, I really like to see what he's up to and support what he's doing, and he always supports what I'm doing. And that's just the first example that came to mind. Like, I was out in South Korea a couple of years ago. I ended up training with a guy that I competed against. Doesn't even speak English. I ended up training at his gym. I ended up teaching at his gym. The guy asked me to teach a class. There was one person that was able to translate. Everybody else spoke Korean. No one spoke English. And again, I had one match with that guy. But it's kind of like this kind of shared mutual respect that you've got for each other. And whether you're talking about competing against somebody or a room full of teammates and that community with me and my guys at Factory, it's kind of like that. It's going to sound a bit macho, but that kind of like blood, sweat and tears. It's like we go through so much trying to improve our game. And some days, some days you're the hammer and some days you're the nail. And it's, like I said, it's that kind of shared experience, and we're all trying to get better. And I always say to our guys, like, you know, a rising tide lifts all ships. Like, even though jiu-jitsu is a solo sport, like, if you can kind of help somebody else, they can kind of start helping somebody else. And the white belts getting better help the blue belts, and the blue belts who are getting better held the purple belts, and it just pushes everybody up and it lifts everybody up. And it's a great kind of community and culture for that. And it's like I said, I've been in like weird situations where, you know, I've got a jiu-jitsu hoodie on, or like I've got a bag on with jiu-jitsu, or like scramble or whatever, and people will come up and say hello to me. I've been in airports, I've been in countries abroad, and it's almost like a little salute, like, oh, I know that you do jiu-jitsu, and you can kind of strike up a conversation with somebody without even ever knowing them. And it's I've never felt that. I've never seen that in anything else. And it's maybe it comes from the Brazilian kind of culture, which is very welcoming and very friendly people as a culture and as a nation. And it's great to kind of see that within the sport. And of course, there's rivalries, and there's, you know, some clubs are kind of more rivals with others and different associations and stuff. But ultimately, like, man, it's a tough sport, and to stick at this long term, you can't do that without a good team and without a good community. And I think if the culture's not right, you know, I've seen clubs come and go, I've seen guys come and go and stuff, because it's you need that support network as well, because it's without that you're not going to get very far.
Yeah, so there's a real kind of subculture of respect, isn't there? Kind of respect and honor within the guys that participate. So what have you learned? Because you built a gym started the gym in 2008.
Yep.
How have you combined your love for BJJ then with running a business? Because all business is tough, right? And especially, you know, gyms are tough, despite it being a growing sport and a mainstreaming sport, and one that you know, new people are looking to come to all the time. It's still tough. How have you found growing that business?
I mean, it's been difficult, and you know, the balance of being able to, you know, still compete. I mean, I still compete. I was fortunate enough to compete in November last. I mean, I'm still competing, and I want to do that as long as I possibly can. But it's one of them where, like, trying to balance running a business, it's very hard at times. But I've been fortunate because, you know, because it's something I love to do, and because I also love to run a business, you know, and I've done it, as you know, like when you're running a business, you have to do, at some point, you have to do every element of the job.
Yep.
Cleaning to marketing to, you know, stacking the shelves to, you know, teaching the classes and planning the classes. And I've been fortunate that I've actually enjoyed every aspect of the business at the same time. So I've known people that have wanted to do their own thing and set up their own gyms and stuff, but all they love to do is to train jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been really fortunate that I really enjoy teaching, I really enjoy training, and I really enjoy running and growing a business. So for me, it's been a hard balance at times, and, you know, I've worked 7 days a week for a long time, and that's something which this kind of whole kind of pandemic has definitely kind of shown me that I do want to, you know, and I do need to kind of have a bit more of a balanced life. And it's kind of, I'm fortunate enough that the business is successful enough that definitely moving forward, I can kind of do that. And I still want to grow the business, but at the same time, I'm quite happy with the size that it's at. And I get offers for people to kind of rent Factory and to come under our banner, but we're only ever going to be one gym, and I'm never going to open up another location. And I've said that many times on record, and because I really feel like quality is much more important to me than quantity. And I definitely kind of want to stick to that moving forward.
So what do you do before the gym? What do you do before? I know you and I spoke years ago, and I think you said I was the first person to guess the meaning behind the Factory name. Obviously, Factory Music, very Manchester-based, based kind of music label, right? Historic. And I know you've done a bit of music journalism. So what do you do? I guess take us from, you know, typical end of school or end of education up to starting Factory.
Yeah. So I mean, it's one of them where, like, I've come late to everything that I've kind of done. So yeah, the closest I've ever had to a real job was being a music journalist. So I went to college like most people did, and then I did a business information systems degree at uni, which was boring and terrible, and I couldn't even tell you one thing that I learned from it.
Yeah, I get that, mate. I get that. I've heard that a lot.
Money well spent.
Absolutely.
But the one thing that going to university and doing a business degree helped me was, one, it kind of gave me the extra time to be able to get into jiu-jitsu, which I was doing when I was at uni. But then also, I decided that I've always enjoyed kind of English and writing and things like that. And then when I was in uni, like most uni students do, you go to a lot of gigs, and I got into music, but I'd not really listened to music that heavily, like up until probably like my late teens, early 20s.
Yeah, that's quite late.
Yeah, exactly. But I decided that combined a little bit of writing ability with a little bit of love of music, and just kind of went head first into that. So the last year of uni, I decided to kind of start writing for the university paper, tried to get involved in doing that, which I did. So doing like odd little gig reviews and album reviews and stuff. And then once I finished university, then I just kind of started to scale up from there. So I started to write for some of the bigger Manchester-based kind of publications, fanzines, websites, blogs. Started my own blog at that point as well, and then moved up through the ranks, and was very fortunate to be able to blag my way into getting a work experience slot at Enemy, because at the time, Enemy was the biggest
huge
magazine in the UK, and also globally. It was very well recognized globally. So I set my targets high, and I said one day I'm going to work for Enemy. And I actually posted on my Instagram last week. I've been sorting out some of my old stuff, and I found the first Enemy that I was actually on the letters page. I wrote a letter. It would have probably it probably would have been an email, but I'd written a letter to Enemy, and to see my name in print in Enemy for the first time, even though it was just on the letters page, was enough to be able to kind of push me forward. And within 2 years of being on the letters page, I was working for him. And I've always had a good work ethic. Come from a good, working class background, and I've had that instilled in me from day one. And I had to blag the Enemy work experience, because they only took journalists.
You were a journalist. You were a journalist strictly, right? Because you've done some bits for the unit.
Yeah, well, they only took this was the thing, right? They only took journalist like students. So you had to do the journalism course, right?
Yeah.
You had to also be an actual student, and I'd already left university. So I doctored a letter saying I was at Manchester University doing journalism.
Love it.
And I got in, and I I was really fortunate that first year, because I did 2 work experience slots, and at the time they had they would generally have 3 or 4 work experience people in the office for the week, each week. And I was really fortunate to do that twice in that year. They invited me back for a second one. And I remember when I was eventually, when I was working for him, the big editor at the time, he said, "Oh, where did you get university? Where did you go to university for your journalism degree?" And I was like, I haven't even got a journalism degree. I was already working for him by then, and I was at a premiere at Leicester Square, and he was there, and I said, "I haven't got one," and they were laughing. The editors were really, they liked my my ability to be able to hustle and to get my foot in the door. And I learned a lot from doing that, being a journalist and essentially kind of like promoting yourself and your ability and your services. Definitely helped me learn a lot of skills, and that I've transitioned across to running my own business. So it was a great time. I met a lot of great people, did a lot of good went to a lot of good gigs and festivals and covered a lot of really cool things. And it was sad when it ended, but it allowed me time to focus on my my gym and my business and my career as in jiu-jitsu. So every cloud.
So how long were you there for?
I was probably only at Enemy for a couple of years. I mean, I started like everybody did, doing a little bit of freelance stuff. So doing the odd little bit of a gig review or an album review or whatever. And then I became a news reporter. So I was kind of still working freelance for them. Most people in the media work freelance, even nowadays. But I was actually kind of like the Manchester-based kind of news correspondent for Enemy. So I used to cover anything up north, and I used to work out of hours as well. So I used to kind of clock in like in the evening and cover things during the night. So do the night shift for them. So if someone died in the middle of the night or something happened in America, like a big announcement happened in America, some band had announced something, I could get that up on the website and through the night. So we'd be kind of first. So I did that for a while, and I loved it. It was great because also it allowed me to train jiu-jitsu in the day. I would even teach at night. I would teach at night, teach a class, and then go home and then kind of log on and do my stuff. So it was really cool to kind of do that. And I was really fortunate to be able to do that, as well as like start building my club up, and both went hand in hand for a long time. And but as the club got bigger, and then as the kind of the magazine industry started to shrink, my ability to be able to kind of do both, I knew it was only going to be a short kind of period in my life, because I got asked to go and interview for a job in the office. Pretty much the same job I was doing, but like office based in London, and I couldn't do it. I was too settled in Manchester, and my club was at a point where it could support me financially, and I decided then to kind of fully commit to jiu-jitsu full time, and no looking back really, no regrets.
What's your favorite gig you did?
Favorite gig I did? Oh, that is a tough one.
Or festival.
I mean, my favorite festival that I did was I did Roskilde Festival for Enemy, which is, if people don't know, is kind of like Glastonbury in mainland Europe. So it was in Copenhagen, in Denmark, and it was nuts. I mean, the Europeans can party, and the big thing about Roskilde Festival is that they let you camp at the site. I think it's like 7 days before the festival even starts.
That's dangerous, right?
So I mean, I was lucky because I was in the kind of the media campsite is separate to the punters, but you have to like walk through the campsite to get to it. And I remember I arrived, and the festival wasn't starting for like 2 days, and it was like something like out of Apocalypse Now. It was just like,
yeah, I can believe it.
It was literally just absolute carnage, like people covered in mud and people just like absolutely off the face. And I was like, wow, like this is gonna be messy, like, and but it was great because it was I was there on my own. I was covering it for Enemy and had a lot of stuff to do, different things and interviews, and covering a lot of different gigs, certain gigs that they wanted me to do. But it was such a wide kind of, I liked it because my musical tastes are really broad. So they had Prince was one of the headliners, which was pretty cool to see. I'd never seen Prince at that time. And then it had like Gorillaz as well, which was good. It had like all the 3D kind of like, all the lights and the animation and stuff. And then there was, just everything in between, really. It was a really kind of eclectic taste. And so that was probably my favorite festival that I covered out there for Enemy.
So music to BJJ, one's kind of, I guess, traditional music's probably traditionally associated with a more kind of chaotic, less structured mindset and life, but BJJ is probably the opposite. So where do you sit? What's your personality? Are you structured? Are you chaotic? Are you a bit of both at different times?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think I'm a bit of both, and you know, I think that helps for sure. I think it's one of them where like, and BJJ is the same. So I try and kind of say to my guys, and I've tried to do the same over the years, to try and take as many lessons that I've learned on the mats, training off the mats, you know, and I think like even kind of like concepts such as leverage and stuff, which are super important in jiu-jitsu, try and use that in my business life, in my personal life. And I think it's one of them where you have to be a little bit of both. I think if you're too formulaic and if you're too structured, it's very easy to be able to, you know, to read that when you're sparring against someone who's very kind of like A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
But then likewise, if you're too kind of crazy and you're just all over the place, you're not going to be able to kind of, you're going to get caught. You're going to get kind of like caught out by some of the more kind of like organized, structured kind of guys. So I think having a bit of both is really useful. You know, I'm not an artist by any stretch, but, you know, especially during the first lockdown and stuff, I started to try and do a bit more art. You know, I bought some canvases and I started like doing some more kind of like calligraphy, kind of graffiti based stuff. Just learned myself, you know, and that was kind of a bit different for me. And it's one of them where like I think it's super important, not only in jiu-jitsu but also in life, just to kind of have like a wide range of creative outputs. Whether it's we have guys at the gym who like to make music, you know, like who like to make beats and are musically inclined. We have other artists at the gym who kind of like to create stuff, and then we have guys who are like accountants who are like really structured and really kind of, you know, we have a lot of computer programmers actually at the gym who are very structured in that way. So I think it's one of them where like I think like anything, the best combination is a balance of both. And I think I definitely am a balance of both.
It's definitely something about, you know, coming to any gym for that kind of self-imposed physical struggle, isn't there? That kind of, you know, washes over into your working life or your everyday life, because it's quite comfortable. Difficult this last year, I get it, you know, with COVID, but traditionally we probably evolved to be in a really comfortable position as a species. So I think there's a real element of imposing physical struggle on yourself to keep yourself balanced mentally, physically, and then you appreciate your life and your job and your family a bit more. Then I know I used to see that from early gyms that I used to attend, real spit and sawdust gyms, different to gyms now, likely, even though I'm sure there are plenty still left. But, you know, I remember, you know, as a 17-year-old going into a gym, and I used to think it was all about, you know, aesthetics and vanity and, you know, kind of peacocking around the gym and posing. And listen, there's definitely some of that around. But what I really learned is that, you know, guys and girls came in with, you know, kind of the weight of the day on their shoulders. You know, the boss might have been an arsehole, or they might have had just a nightmare day, you know, whatever. But they came in there and they released all that tension through physical struggle, and they left just more balanced, nicer people. And I think that's what any kind of physical pursuit does. And I guess there's a lot of that in BJJ, because it's quite a lengthy thing, right? You know, you're not going in there blasting 30-minute session out. There's a lot of concentration needed, and I guess especially you've got to be really present.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think a lot of people who've kind of, you know, been kind of exposed to other sports, even like say football, for instance. Like, you know, I played football for years. You know, we'd train on a Tuesday night, you know, probably for an hour or whatever, and then we'd have a match on the Sunday, and that'd kind of be it. I mean, we have classes on 7 days a week. Normally, we do 365. So we have Christmas Day. I've had 20 plus guys on Christmas Day training.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, it's the big thing about BJJ is that, like, I mean, of course we have guys that just train twice a week, but we have classes in the morning and at night, and people don't get it at first. Like, people just think, oh, you've been to yoga this week, you don't need to go to yoga again. But we have guys that will train morning and night, when they're off work, or we have guys who train 4 or 5 times, 6 times a week. And obviously you have that amount of obsession and dedication in all kinds of different sports, from CrossFit to swimming to cycling. To get to the higher levels, you do need that kind of commitment and stuff. But it's one of them where it's I think because it is addictive, because like you said before, it's about comfort zones, and stepping out of your comfort zone is really important. And I think it's that release of the tension as well. So like you said before, like, if you had a bad day at work, or you've had a row with your missus or whatever, coming to training to kind of get that release is, even if you come down and you absolutely get smashed all over the place and you lose every round, you never go away feeling any worse. Like you only feel any better. And we have so many guys at the gym who will turn up on a night that they don't usually do, and the missus have said to him, look, you better get to jiu-jitsu, because you're a much better person when you're doing jiu-jitsu. And I'm getting a lot of messages at the moment, and even 10 months in, we closed initially in March last year, and we've been open in various guises, doing little bits here and there, but people still miss it, and they're struggling to kind of find that release and that kind of escapism, and I think it's something that we can all relate to with or people who are listening can relate to with,
absolutely,
with whatever sport or whatever pursuit or whatever hobby it is. We as humans need that, and I've been doing a lot of wild swimming recently because I like the challenge of it, and it's been really interesting for me to be able to pick something else up which gets me out of my comfort zone and challenges me and pushes me and makes me nervous to do. And I think we're all looking for something like that at the moment, really.
I was going to say, really, what else complements BJJ as a practice? And I guess a lot of it's sort of strength and flexibility. So I'm guessing yoga probably works. What do you do? I've noticed on your Instagram actually about your cold water swimming, which I find really interesting. I'm terrible in cold. I can do a cold shower, and I can just about stomach that. But everyone keeps telling me, especially my mates and Phil and the guys at the guys in the business, and I've got a mate called Chris Ray, and he did some bits for us down at the river on a freezing cold day. It was 0 degrees outside, and he's out of his wetsuit and he's in the river in his shorts, and I'm like, that is just. It takes a certain mindset. It takes a certain mindset to do that. So what else do you do? You mentioned your cold water swimming. Do you do any yoga?
Yeah, I mean, yoga is a big one. I mean, a friend of mine, he set up it was a good few years ago now, but he set up a program, a website, Yoga for BJJ.
Okay.
So he kind of took a lot of the core elements of yoga and kind of made it a bit more specific for our sport. So, in jiu-jitsu, hips are a big one. Hips and hamstrings take quite a battering, especially if you're a guard player like me, you play on the bottom a lot. So he put a really good kind of system together, and he has an amazing website, Yoga for BJJ. And I started really only doing that consistently last year. I mean, it's one of those things we're all getting older now. I'm 36 now, and it's kind of I found that adding yoga in consistently. So I pretty much do a little bit of yoga every day, even if I'm only just doing 10 or 15 minutes. And then I have other days where I'm doing 30 or an hour sessions on his website. Yoga's been a great addition. It's definitely improved my flexibility, but everyone knows that. But I think for BJJ, it's improved my posture. It's improved my ability to be able to control my body more. And I found that it's had great improvements on my sparring game, which has been great. Strength and conditioning for sure. Every sport now, whether you're a surfer, skater, everyone's kind of way more kind of aware of the benefits of strength and conditioning. So I mean, I've got quite a good setup at the gym at Factory. So we got all the kit that we need. So, I still like to do deadlifts, and I still like to kind of do weights and stuff when I can. and try and do a couple of sessions a week to kind of supplement and more prehab and rehab type stuff rather than trying to get bigger or anything. Just to try and maintain my body and perform at the highest levels for as long as possible. And then, recently I started to kind of do this kind of wild swimming stuff. And I've been doing that probably maybe about 7 or 8 months now.
Okay.
And I just like the challenge of it. I mean, there's huge benefits to the cold. You know, I bought another sideline for my business, and I bought a cryo chamber for the gym. So I've got a cryo chamber at the gym, and for me, like I like the cold swimming. I mean, it's not really swimming; we're just dipping in. But like the other day, I'm trying to build up to 10 minutes. So the other day,
and you go in shorts, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I used to just go in my boxers, but recently I did buy some swim gloves and some swim socks. So they're just kind of like a neoprene, like 3mm neoprene kind of glove and socks set. Because my feet are not too bad, but my hands get really, really cold. And I did about 6 minutes about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and my hands weren't right for about 24 hours. And I thought I'm doing some damage here, I think.
Yeah.
My hands are kind of my living. So I bought some cheap gloves and stuff, and now I can kind of do a lot longer. And I'm competitive with everything that I do, so I'm trying to build up to 10 minutes. I did one yesterday, and I did 8 minutes, which is the longest I've done. So every kind of week or so, I kind of try and do 30 seconds more. And I'm doing 2 or 3 a week at the moment. And there's a reservoir up near me. And there's quite a few people go and do it now. And it's like I said, for me, it's nice to be able to step out my comfort zones. It still makes me feel nervous, and I like that. I think it's something which you know. I mean, I'm chatty, and you know, I've known you for a long time. But even today, like I was a little bit nervous about doing this, and but for me, if I get nervous about doing something, I know that I need to do it. I've got to do it. I commit to it, and I do it fully. You know, and the wild swim is my latest thing. So you have to come with me sometime.
Mate, I tell you, I need to. Yeah, I totally relate to that feeling nervous thing. It is a really good thing, getting out of your comfort zone and doing something that you know. Well, firstly, you know it's going to be painful because, I mean, you know, freezing cold hands for 24 hours is a challenge. So listen, I keep saying I'm going to do it. That's my thing for this year. I'm going to get. I might start in summer though. I don't know. I might not go in winter. I might start in summer. I do some nice. We've got a river about a mile from me, so I might just chuck myself in there and see if I survive.
Do you do cold showers then?
I do cold showers. Yeah.
How long do you do?
About a second. No, I get to about. I can do them at the end of a warm shower. So I'll do a warm shower and then I'll do them at the end, and I can probably do on a good day. I mean, maybe 2 minutes.
Man, that's eat. So if you can do a cold shower for 2 minutes, you can definitely
really?
cold water. I think so. Really? I think you're going to be surprised. I think you're putting limitations on your ability there. I think if you do 2 minutes in cold shower, I think you can do the cold water. I mean, I think it's one of those things where I think some people kind of feel like you know, that it's going to be beyond them. I know obviously some people have issues with you know, people don't like water, or they don't like the idea of being in not being able to see the bottom of the water and things, or something might be in there or whatever. And I think
a Loch Ness monster.
Well, yeah, you'd be surprised. Like some people are a bit more kind of worried about that. When I've spoke to people, or people have asked me about my kind of time in the water, they've said that's one thing that they struggle to kind of get past, is that they're a bit worried about what might be in the water. But maybe that's an excuse. I don't know. But
I think so, mate, yeah.
The big thing is that it's I don't know. There's just a lot of health benefits as well. You know, with the cold and stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously Wim Hof has popularized this massively over the last few years and stuff. So I think with everything going on and people being trying to be a bit more health conscious, you know, especially post COVID and stuff, like I think it's something we'll see more people doing, and it's nice that people are embracing it. And the thing for me, which has been quite interesting, is it's a bit of a community of people that go down to the reservoir near me. So I've kind of met some new people, and you know, there's similar minded, and it's cool to see, really, especially with everything going on at the moment. So yeah, definitely. I look forward to hearing about you getting in the water soon.
Yeah, don't worry, I'll film it. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the age of wellness now, and so many things happening. You know, people are really understanding that, you know, mental health and physical health they just go hand in hand. It's holistic. You know, and performance is holistic, and wellness is holistic. It's not one thing. It's not go to the gym and then forget about it. It's not eat a good meal here and then forget about it. It's completely holistic. It's, you know, from morning starting the day great, from, you know, maintaining energy and focus throughout the day. Then it's about, you know, recovering and managing stress and things like cortisol and inflammation in the evening, and all these, you know, cold water things, and all these, even yoga, and, you know, just good living really make a massive difference on that kind of, you know, the inflammation and stress and cortisol and ability to sleep well. And when you sleep well, life's great when you sleep well. When you sleep badly, life and performance suffers massively. I mean, all the data around sleep now, and, you know, how your testosterone levels, you know, decline and drop massively just after one bad night's sleep. So it's really, really important. What are you? Last time we spoke, or certainly face to face and discussed in any detail, you were vegan before it was cool to be vegan. Are you still eating vegan?
Yeah. So I mean, I was vegetarian for probably, I've been vegetarian for around 15, 16 years now. And then I've been full vegan for probably probably about 12, 14 months or something like that. So it wasn't that much of a jump for me. I mean, it was one of them where, like, it's something I wanted to try for a long time, but the market wasn't really that supportive in terms of, like, from supplementation to even just food at the supermarket to restaurant. Like, I mean, I'm at an age now, like, where 15, 16 years ago, when I started to be a veggie, you go out for a meal, and there'd be nothing on the menu. They wouldn't even offer one vegetarian meal.
I can remember. Things have changed so quickly. In such a mass market way.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to any supermarket now, and they've got almost like aisles full of, like, you know, of options and stuff. So for me, like, I tried it about 12, 14 months ago. I just thought, you know what, I'm going to try to go fully vegan. And I did. And it was one of them where, like, I didn't really feel any extra benefit. So I don't feel like I got any extra performance increases, but I just feel better. I do feel better for kind of transitioning over. And you know, from an ethical point of view as well, like, I mean, it's one of those things for me personally. That was always one of the reasons why I went vegetarian initially. But then also, you know, I'm not super strict with the being vegan. So, you know, if I want a bar of chocolate or something like that, like, or I go to someone's house, and, you know, I remember one time, you know, before COVID and stuff, like, I went to my dad's, and they made me a big pasta bake, like, oh, I've made you some food and it's got all cheese in it, and, like, I'm not going to turn it down. You know, I'd eat it. Like, so I'm very strict. You know, I don't eat meat or fish. You know, I don't buy leather. You know, I'm very strict on the vegetarian point of view, and I am vegan, and I do make those choices, but I am a little bit kind of flexible with it, in terms of, like, if I did fancy a dessert or whatever, and or an ice cream or something, like, I'm not going to say no, you know.
Yeah. So what's the future? What's the future for BJJ? What's the future for Factory Gym? You know, it's definitely getting bigger. You've got numerous vocal proponents of BJJ, kind of, especially in the States, but, you know, growing in this country now. You've got waiting lists. You've got waiting lists at your gym. What's the future? I guess is there a danger of? I guess there's no danger, but is there a danger of it becoming too popular to the point where then you get people doing it who aren't as into the purity of it? I guess it's like a band, going back to music days, you know, when a band starts, you know, as a kind of subculture band, you know, part of a counterculture, and then mainstreams, and then softens a little bit. Is there, you know, to get a wider appeal, is there an element of risk around BJJ for that, or is it always going to stay pure?
No. I mean, it's already been watered down. I mean, I could be here all day talking about that. I mean, it's very kind of political, and I mean, I have always tried to stay out of the political side of things with BJJ, and I think it's the same in any industry, any business, any kind of art, like you say, music, counterculture, whatever. You know, I mean, I just focus on what we're doing. I'm kind of very known in our sport for being very strict with belts. So like I'm you know, the guys almost joke about it, and I'm trying to keep the art as pure as possible. And I do believe that, like, you know, if you're seeing people get to black belt in 5 or 6 years, like, I just don't think that's possible in terms of like the level that I've set myself and I set for what I think is a black belt. The growth of the sport, I think, will continue. Like you said, there's, you know, loads of like ace class, you know, celebrities and stuff who are doing it now, who are bringing it to the forefront of, you know, other people's minds, in, you know, from actors to musicians to high level kind of like business leaders, and that's awesome, you know, and BJJ is for everybody, like, and that's the thing. You can do it in whatever capacity and that you want, and to whatever level you want. And my goal is to kind of keep things as pure as possible. Like I said before, one location, one gym. You know, I don't really believe that for me, like, doing anything more than that would be beneficial. I think the quality control is a nightmare for me. I've got friends who have opened up multiple locations, and I just don't feel like it's, for me, is a good use of my time. If anything, I've thought about the idea of even closing memberships and just working with a smaller group of people, you know, capping the memberships at, I don't know, you know, 100 or 150 memberships, working with a smaller group of people, because ultimately, like, I'm not about money at all. You know me well enough that, like, I'm like just about the quality of the product and the service that we're giving. And I much prefer that, rather than just kind of just packing them in and just having 100 classes a week and just having 50 people in every class. Like, I want to be remembered and build a legacy have a legacy that what I did in our sport was keep the purity of it, keep the level high, and be able to kind of create and coach people to a level that is remembered, you know. And we've got a good reputation in our field, in our sport, and people know that when they're, you know, they come to train with me, or they visit, or they compete against somebody from our gym, that they're going to get a technical, you know, a high level person. And I feel like, for me, like, for Factory's future, that's what I want to continue to do. So it's good, because it means that you know, the people that are training with us are going to get value. I always want to try and give people the best value possible, and I think by cramming people in and having, you know, multiple locations, and me teaching at one gym one night and one gym another night, is not the best way to do that. So I think it's one of them where I don't want to go mega gym, like have thousands of people at the gym. I just want to keep things kind of small and controlled, and keep the quality nice and high. But I do think that the sport will continue to grow, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how that pans out over the next kind of few years and moving forward.
Cool, Adam. On that point, I think a great time to wrap up. I'll keep you updated on my cold water activities, and and if I ever decide to finally get into BJJ, which I've been promising myself for years now, I find it really interesting and intriguing, and it would be a big challenge for me. So I think, I'll keep you updated, mate. Thanks for your time. Best wishes for yourself, competitive wise, family wise, personal wise, and also for the gym.
Thanks, man.
Great, mate. Cheers. Bye bye.
All right, bye.